When my alarm goes off like that, the first thing I do is hit snooze, of course, and go back to bed. 10 minutes later, it goes off again. I hit snooze again. The third time it goes off, I realize, great, I'm 20 minutes late now. And I jump out of bed, rush through my morning routine, and I barely make it out the door, still running behind schedule. Now I'm starting to think, great, traffic is building up and I'm gonna be late still. As I'm driving and the traffic is growing, I see my ETA get longer and longer and longer, and I'm not sure that I'm gonna make it to work on time. Then I finally pull into the parking lot with just a few minutes to spare, and I'm rushing through the parking lot to get through the front of the door. Phew. I finally make it just in time with barely a minute to spare. I'm sure many of you can relate to my morning routine that I just described. Although we may think this is normal, we just put our bodies through a flight or fight response.
Hence, the stress response is also known as fight or flight.
In today's video, we are going to be talking about stress, high cortisol levels, and the impact it has on PCOS, and 5 tips to manage your stress. Welcome back to PCOS Healing Adventure with me, Dr. Ami Patel, pharmacist and fellow sister. Today we are going to be talking about cortisol and stress levels. So cortisol is a type of stress hormone that is released from our bodies. Women with PCOS have altered metabolism of cortisol, which means we may have higher stress levels, we don't process the cortisol as well, and they may remain higher for longer periods than women without PCOS. Cortisol is released from the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands also release male hormones, androgens, for example, testosterone. Testosterone is linked to causing the unwanted symptoms of PCOS, such as the abdominal weight gain, hair loss from the head, unwanted facial hair growth, and acne, just to name a few of the symptoms. This is why managing stress is just as important as other lifestyle modifications. Although stress cannot be eliminated, we can definitely make efforts to reduce and manage it. So now let's look at my 5 tips. Tip number 1 is to recognize and minimize the stress. So in the example I gave, we all may think that this is a normal daily occurrence and it's okay, but it actually causes a lot of stress to our bodies from the minute we wake up, from the alarm going off, rushing through the door, sitting in traffic, getting irritated in traffic, worrying about being late. And the day has barely begun and I'm already putting so much stress on my body. So once I recognized this, I made modifications to minimize it as much as possible. So one of the things I did is that I hated waking up to that annoying, pesky alarm clock that's just like so loud and obnoxious. So I decided to get a wake up sunlight alarm clock, which basically, instead of the annoying noise, it just gradually increases the light. So it kind of feels like the sun is coming out, and it has like birds chirping, which is a lot calmer way to wake up. And I'm going to be making a video on that specifically, so make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss that video when it comes out. Another example is that I decided to take a different route to work, even though it was a little bit longer. There's less traffic on that route, so that causes less stress for me. Going to work and coming from work, as opposed to being stressed out about the New York traffic that I dislike. And just leaving 5 minutes earlier to work, I realized that there's less traffic than if I leave later. So those are the modifications I made in my morning schedule, just to kind of minimize that stress before my day even begins. Other things you can do if planning or deciding like what is for dinner every single day stresses you out, then coming up with a plan for the week ahead of time so that you're not wasting your time and energy and getting stressed out about deciding what's for dinner every day. Tip number 2 is incorporating meditation, yoga, or breathing exercises throughout your day. And if you're new to the concept of breathing exercises, box breathing is the one I recommend and really enjoy doing myself. It's really simple, and once you learn how to do it, you can practice it throughout your day. And the more you practice it, the more you'll remember to use it throughout the day. So boxed breathing, basically it's kind of like a box, and you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, you hold for 4 seconds, and then you repeat again. It's really simple to remember. Even if you try that for 30 seconds throughout your day, it will help bring down those stress levels and help you refocus on what you're about to do. So I like to do it, when I get to work early. If I'm sitting in the car, I just like to kind of do the box breathing for about a minute and just focus on what the day is gonna bring ahead after that. And even when I come home, sometimes I just park my car and then I sit and do that for about a minute, and then I go into the house and so I'm focused on like, okay, I just went through this, I'm relaxed, now I'm gonna approach the next part of my day. My third tip is making sure you're eating enough food and not over exercising. So the number one thing that women think when they get diagnosed with PCOS or they're starting to manage it for the first time is they get told to lose weight. And this usually, women think that they're overeating and not working out hard enough. So they start cutting calories down to 1,200 calories or even less, or making drastic calorie deficits overnight. And this ends up leading your body to think that there's some sort of food shortage or, scarcity, and there's not going to be food. So your body starts to store whatever food it's getting in fat cells, and that's why it actually gets harder to lose weight. And with overworking out, this is like if you work out for 1 hour in the morning and then in the evening you're going to like spin class or kickboxing, and you're putting too much stress on your body. And if you're on top of that not eating enough, you're losing more of those calories. So you can work out and do the spin classes and kickboxing if you enjoy them. Just be aware of how your stress levels are afterwards, or how your stress levels are with everything else in your life. And if you end up really enjoying those workouts and you feel like they are helping you, then definitely continue them. I'm not saying don't do any high intensity workouts, but just be aware that you're not overdoing it. Tip number 4 is to get enough rest and sleep. So sleep is really beneficial for PCOS for a lot of things, including weight loss and reducing insulin resistance, but it's also really helpful in decreasing your cortisol levels. So a few helpful tips for getting sleep is sticking to a sleep schedule, making sure that you're off of your phone or TV about an hour at least before bed, so you're not exposed to blue light, making sure you have a relaxing wind down routine, doing things you like, trying the breathing exercises and making that as part of your regular routine so your body knows that it's time for bed. If you've enjoyed the tips I've given you so far, make sure you hit the like button. Now, my 5th and final tip is to be mindful of your caffeine intake. So I know that coffee and caffeine is very controversial in the PCOS community, and I'm not saying to eliminate it completely. I'm just saying be mindful of it because it's very individualized and it's up to you what you want to do with it. So it is true that caffeine can stimulate the adrenal glands to release cortisol and androgens, as we discussed earlier. So caffeine can cause an acute stress response for your body. So with that being said, be mindful of your other causes of stress in your life. Be mindful of how much coffee you are taking in, and if there is ways to reduce it if you want to, cutting down from 2 cups a day to maybe 1, or switching out one of the cups to a tea or decaf or half calf coffee. Those are just some options for you to consider. So those are just a couple of small examples of how you can modify your daily routine to minimize the stress levels. I hope you guys enjoyed my 5 tips on how to manage and reduce stress for PCOS. Please leave me a comment telling me one of your favorite ways that you manage and reduce your stress. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments as well. As always, be kind to yourself, be patient, and focus on progress, not perfection. I'll see you guys next time.